Yeah. Okay, Hare Krishna, everybody. Dear devotees, we'll start with the prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Naranam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tado Dev Mudire Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavate Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. So, dear devotees, today I've been given an opportunity for my own self purification to discuss verse uh, 21 of chapter 10. So let me make sure that it is visible to you guys. I'm just sharing my screen. So is it visible, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So we will read. This is words 10:21. So first we will read the words. Adityanam aham Vishnu Jyotisam
Maham Vishnur
Jyotisam Ravir Amsumam
Jyotisham Deviramshuman
Marichir Marutam Asmi
Marichir Marudam Asmi
Nakshatranam aham Shashi
Nakshatranam Aham Shashi
Adityanam aham Vishnu
Adityanam Aham Vishnur
Jyotisam Ravir Amsumam
Jyotisham Deviramshuman
Marichir Marutam Asmi
Marichir Marudam Asmi
Nakshatram aham Shashi.
Nakshatranam Aham Shashi
Anybody else want to repeat?
Adityanam Aham Vishnur
Adityanam aham Vishnu
Jyotisham Deviramshuman
Jyotisam Ravir Amsumam
Marijirmarutamasmi
Marichir Marutam Asmi
Nakshatranamaham Shashi
Nakshatranam aham Shashi. Okay. Anybody else? So we will start, Prabhuji. The synonyms for this words. Adityanam, of the Adityas. Aham, I am. Vishnu, the Supreme Lord. Jyotisam, of all luminaries. Ravi, the sun. Amsuman, radiant. Marichi, Marutam, of the Maruts. Asmi, I am. Nakshatranam, of the stars. Aham, I am. Shashi, the moon. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Of the Adityas, I am Vishnu. Of lights, I am the radiant sun. Of Maruts, I am Marichi. And among the stars, I am the moon. So it has a small purport. First we'll read the purport here, Prabhuji. So there are 12 Adityas, of which Krishna is the principal. Among all the luminaries shining in the sky, the sun is the chief, and in the Brahma Samhita, the sun is accepted as the glowing eye of the Supreme Lord. There are 50 varieties of wind blowing in space, and of these winds, the controlling deity Marichi represents Krishna. Among the stars, the moon is the most prominent at night, and thus the moon represents Krishna. It appears from this verse that the moon is one of the stars. Therefore, the stars that twinkle in the sky also reflect the light of the sun. The theory that there are many suns within the universe is not accepted by Vedic literature. The sun is one, and as by the reflection of the sun, the moon illuminates, so also do the stars. Since Bhagavad Gita indicates herein that the moon is one of the stars, the twinkling stars are not suns but are familiar to the moon. Sorry, similar to the moon. So, so my question is like, why is Lord Krishna speaking the above verse here? Because is why was he asked to talk about him here? So, as it has been discussed previously in this session, that Arjuna had requested Lord Krishna to reveal about himself, that how he can remember the Lord all the time. So, and then he wanted the information in detail, because Lord Krishna discusses something about it in chapter 7 and chapter 9 also about himself. But here Arjuna is expecting the Lord to give the information in detail. And then Lord says that it is not possible for him to give all the details, but he will give the prominent details, so that the main subjects can be revealed. So how we can remember the Lord all the time. So this happens in Bhagavad Gita 10:17. Lord Arjuna is saying, "O Krishna, O supreme mystic, how shall I constantly think of you, and how shall I know you? In what various forms are you to be remembered, O Supreme Personality of Godhead?" So, as I just mentioned, that Lord discusses about this in chapter 7, the beginning of 7 chapter. Lord Krishna is talking about him even before Arjuna goes and asks anything. He himself says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Now here." The important thing is here. Lord Krishna expects us to hear. "O son of Pratha, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt." So basically, Lord Krishna is giving us the tips as how we can remember him, and we can put his mind, focus our mind in him. Because prior to this, in 647, he says, that you should always think me in your heart. But then now here, then how should Arjuna think of the Lord in his heart? That is being discussed here. So in this purport of this verse, Srila Prabhupada says, concentration of the mind upon Krishna, the Supreme, is made possible by prescribed devotional service in 9 different forms. So we understand there are 9 different forms of devotional service, of which Shravanam is the first and the most important. So Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, like it keeps going like this. So, and Shravanam is the most important of them. The Lord therefore says to Arjuna, Tat Shrunu, or hear from me. So that's again, the point is that we should hear from him. So no one can be a greater authority than Krishna, and therefore by hearing from him, one receives the greatest opportunity to become a perfect Krishna conscious person. So further, further Srila Prabhupada says that one has to therefore learn from Krishna directly, or from a pure devotee of Krishna. So that's the important thing, that if we should learn from, we should be able to hear directly from a pure source. The source should be correct, because if we go to can we mute Manish Patel? Okay. Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. So then basically here we have to be sure that the source is authorized, it is authentic, and it is pure. So here Srila Prabhupada is saying that we should be hearing it directly from Krishna, or directly from a pure devotee of Krishna. That is very important. So Krishna discusses about his further, like in this chapter we see that Krishna is discussing about his inferior and superior energies. So he says very clearly, 10.4, sorry, 7.4, he says, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. All together, these 8 constitute my separated material energies. So these are the 8 separate material energies of this. It is going from most grossest to most subtle. So earth, water, fire, air, ether, and so these are the gross elements, and mind, intelligence, and false ego. These are the subtle elements. So Krishna is saying, but these are all inferior energies of his. So they are separated material energies. Further, he says on 705, he says, beside this, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mind which comprises of the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior energy. So that's what he's pointing to us, that we are the marginal potency of his who are exploiting the inferior energy. So so living entities are busy in this world, busy with instead of focusing on Krishna, we are more focused on the material nature here. So further we see on 7.6, he says, all created beings have their source in these two natures of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world. Know for certain that I am both the origin and the dissolution. Similar thing, Lord Krishna also mentions, aham sarvasya prabhavo. So from him everything is emanate. The same concept he is giving in 706 again. And then, like, I'll actually come down to here, that 707 he says, O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. So he's saying that he's the most supreme, he's supreme truth, and everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. All these inferior and superior energies are resting on Krishna, basically. So just like when there is a necklace of pearls, the thread is hidden, but the thread is basically tying all these. Similarly, what we see is that Lord Krishna is tying all these inferior and marginal potencies together, and by that all the opulences are slowly coming. So let's see how it happens. So Lord says, okay, he's like a thread is invisible to us, yet allowing us to see his energies, so we are just seeing his energies. So Lord Krishna is the energetic, and what we see is the energy. So, and from the energy comes the opulence. It's like very simple. If we see the earth, from the earth the brick comes. The brick is one of the earth is the energy of Lord Krishna. The energetic is Lord Krishna. The brick itself is made of earth, and from the earth we can have huge buildings. We can have huge palaces. So that's just an example I'm giving. So the opulence is coming in the palaces or in the huge buildings, but that's the small energy of the Lord. So that's like one of those 8 energies. I'm just giving an example here. You can see water, little water, but from that water is also energy of his, and the opulence is the big, huge oceans, right? We see earth as, from the earth, big mountains are there. So like the Himalayas is coming from him. So all these opulences are coming from the Lord. So this is a relationship between the energetic, the energy, and the opulence. But then, so question is, why Lord Krishna is discussing about his opulences here? Because Parashar Munish says that there are 6 opulences in this world, and Bhagwan, and he is Bhagwan who has them all in full. Like that is strength, fame, wealth, knowledge, beauty, and renunciation. So if somebody has all these opulences in full, then he is considered to be the Supreme Lord. So even in the material world, we could see that, we have, in today's world, we'll say Elon Musk, or we could say, Jeff Bezos, or anybody like, but they may have a lot of wealth, but do they have any beauty? Well, we know how much beautiful they are, or how much of strength they have, and how much of renunciation they have. We know for sure that they want to suck all the wealth. They may have some fame. So the point is, an entity who has all this in full, and like still they are, so only when somebody has in full, then only the feeling of renunciation comes into him. And these guys, none of which I mentioned here, have any they're close to anywhere close to renunciation. So now question is, why do we need to know the opulence of the Supreme Lord? So why is Lord Krishna discussing about his opulences, so much in detail? Like, because in 10:07, like as we read before, he has discussed that one who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt. So there's a reason why Lord Krishna is giving us the details about his opulences, because he wants us that we can surrender in confidence. It's not that okay, we we don't know that who we are surrendering to, what is so we get knowledge of him. Based on our knowledge, we have more confidence, okay, that what we are doing, we are taking a decision which is more knowledgeable and calculated. It is not we are just jumping into out of emotion and then realizing that we did something was not correct. So he wants to make sure that we are intelligently surrendering to him. So further, so now we come to verse number 1021. So in 1021, he is saying, Lord Krishna is saying that among the Adityas, he is Vishnu or Vaman. And what is the energy of the Lord here? The energy of the Lord is the Vishnu Tattva. He is the superior energy. So he is even beyond the marginal potency. And then among the luminaries, he is the sun, right? And the sun is the energy. What is the energy of the Lord here? Is the fire or light, which is the inferior energy of the Lord. Then among Maruts, he is Marichi, the wind. So wind is the inferior energy of the Lord. He did mention there that air, it is coming from air. The wind is coming from is air here. So among stars, he's saying he's the moon, and then he's coming as a reflection, like the reflection of the sun on the moon. So that's again coming from the light, which is again an inferior energy, which is caused by fire. So what we see is that all those elements which he has discussed in 704, those elements, how they are combining and how they are, creating an opulence. So like we see when the sun, right? When the we see in the night, in the darkness, we can turn on all the lights, we can put in all the lamps, everything turned on in every home. Still, the darkness is there. You don't see the darkness going away. But the minute morning, even before the sun arises, just by the dawn itself, all the darkness goes away. Even as soon as just the little light of the sun comes, even that itself is able to drive away all the darkness. So we see that what is the opulence of the sun, what is the power of the sun. Similarly, we have seen, in the night, there are so many stars, and then there is moon. But just one single moon, like as Srila Prabhupada mentioned, one single moon is higher than all the stars combined together. Still it outshines and everybody else. So that is the the stage or the opulence of Lord Krishna. Then wind. So wind, we see, we have seen the winds. It could be a pleasant wind, or it could be like a hurricane, or it could be a tornado. So we can see the power of the wind. Just the power of the wind, like whole things can become flat. The whole cities can go flat. So that's the power we are talking. So among the 12 Vishnu Adityas, he is Vishnu. So these are the Vishnu Adityas. Aditi was one of the wife of Kashyap Muni. So she had 12 sons. So they are Dhata, Mitra, Arema, Shakra, Varun, Amsha, Bhaga, Vivaswan, Pusha, Savita, Tvashta, and Vaman. So Vaman among them is considered to be part of Lord Vishnu. So, basically this is a small verse. I think this is what I have to say on my end. If anybody has to ask anything more, they can ask. Or if Dinesh Prabhu thinks he can add something, anybody wants to add something, please feel free to come and add. Thank you, Prabhu. Anybody has any questions or comments?
Prabhu, I have comment, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhu, this Aditya is the is not Jiva Tattva, right?
Yeah, Adityas, I can't answer that question, but I definitely know that Vishnu is not a Jiva Tattva. He is the supreme Tattva. If Samisha Prabhu knows, he can maybe answer that if all the Adityas are Jiva Tattvas or not. But they were there were among the um, wives of Kashyap Muni, there were two of them. The first one was Aditi, the second was Diti. So from the Aditi, the Adityas came, and they were the demigods and or the devatas, and from Diti the demons or the Danavas, or the Asuras came, So I can say that, but I don't know if all the Adityas were Vishnu, are Vishnu Tattva. That if Simisha Prabhu knows, he can maybe explain.
Yes, Prabhu. So that means Aditya is different from the demigod, right?
Good question. I don't know, Prabhu. I can't say if they are different from the demigods.
Okay, Prabhu, no problem.
No, they are demigods. Sun god is demigod, isn't it? Aditya, Vivaswan,
Yeah, we were something like that.
Arima, Varuna. Varuna is the charioteer of the sun god, sun planet. Except Vamana. Vamana is the incarnation of the Supreme Lord. And he is also known as Ubendra, the brother of Indra. Indra is also son of Mother Aditi. And Kashyapa. Indra is the the king of heaven. So yes, they are all Jiva Tattva. Brahma is also Jiva Tattva, first living entity. So everything comes from Brahma. Whatever comes from Brahma, also Jiva Tattva.
Okay,
But except the incarnations of Vamana Dev, likes that.
Okay, Prabhu, got it. Thank you.
And yeah.
Dhanyavad, Prabhu. Haribol, Prabhu.
And
Haribol.
yeah, thank you. Anybody else? Any comments, questions, concerns? We have a lot of time for discussions today. Thank you, Sankarshan Broji. Such a wonderful class. Very nicely quoted from the verses and nicely explained why Krishna is revealing the topics of Krishna's Vibhuti Yoga or opulences to Arjuna. It's nicely explained. Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Please go ahead.
Yes, Prabhu. Another question is there. So here Krishna mentions that all the luminaries are the not sun. They are the not. They are the luminaries like moon, right? The twinkle. You told that the twinkle twinkle little star like that. But in science, we see that there's some galaxy. There's a lot of big star there. They're bigger than the sun. How do you explain that thing?
Okay, yeah. Actually, there is the concept is being discussed here, as Srila Prabhupada mentions clearly in the purport, that he is discussing the Vedic concept here. So, according to the Vedic concept, the sun is the prime most, and from that, all the other nakshatras are coming. So it's basically sun and the other nakshatras. So in this scenario, what we have is all the nakshatras are being reflected because of the light coming from the sun. So that is the Vedic, Vedic idea which has been discussed here. So but what you're saying, according to science, yeah, because science has something like planets and satellites, and then it has something else. So, but what the way the Vedic system understands is that the sun is the main, and everything other than the sun are coming in the which are luminous, are coming as nakshatra.
Yes,
so I hope I cleared that
I
point.
agree with you. I got your point. But through Hubble's telescope, we can see that there is some cluster of galaxy and other things. So those are
Yes.
the things different from this universe, or what is that?
Actually, even though they are, you see the galaxies, they are part of this universe. But if like the way you're looking is Prabhuji, that it's the big uh, what I used to say, like when the Garbhodaksha Vishnu, right? So in the Garbhodaksha Vishnu situation here, like the entire universe is like a big egg. So my voice is getting echoed. Sorry, somebody, Ajay Prabhu, if you can please switch off your mic. So so I have all these galaxies and planets and like and all of them are inside this. So and then there is another galaxy, like so there is another universe. So this when I'm talking of the universe, in the universe all the galaxies and everything are coming within here, and this X-shaped like whole thing like bubble is having 7 different layers, which are like in of earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Like so, these these elements together go about and form the layer, uh, like for this entire bubble. So that's so what I'm discussing here is the Vedic viewpoint. Uh, yeah, what you're saying, that is correct according to science, because science has its own perception. Like science today will say something, today tomorrow it may say something else. So science has the flexibility of changing. But when it comes to Vedas, whatever has been said, it's basically the nomenclature. So they have a different nomenclature, we have a different nomenclature. So yeah, as long as you understand the nomenclature is different, we are still pointing at the same thing. Somebody can call it Surya, other can call it sun, and somebody may call it Helios, right? So the nomenclature changes, but still sun is still going to be sun, Prabhuji. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, Prabhu, I got your point. Just yes, in Vedic perspective, sun is the center point, and sun is the only luminary. They only give us light and everything,
Mhm.
and that is I understood. Sometimes we confused about these things, but we need to think about that the Vedic perspective, the different from the science perspective. That's correct.
That's correct. Yeah, actually, like at some point in time, we may at a lot of things when the scientists discuss, they even quote the Vedas, that the Vedas are according to Vedas, this is what it is. So basically, even the scientists agree that lot of things which are put in the Vedas are correct. But it's just like even Einstein, right? He accepted that whatever has been put in the Vedas, he had a lot of faith in them. So the theory of relativity and all those things. Those things he could see how they came, and they were discussed long back in the Vedas. So even uh, to date, like even now, when the scientists are doing their research, they borrow the concept from the Vedas, and they're making movies also. They borrow the concept from the Vedas, and then they try to picturize that thing, or they're trying to. But what they're doing is that they are not saying that borrowing it from the Veda, or they are just trying to use a different nomenclature, which is more attuned to this world here. But it's the concept wise, they may still be pointing at the same thing.
Yes, Prabhu, I got it. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank
Dhanyavad Pranam, everyone. Thank you. Very well, Prabhu.
Even in the science, there is only one sun, right? Everything else is stars. They don't call it a sun.
No, Prabhu. Actually, in science, there are innumerable suns. Sun is a star, and what science says is that our star that we see is one of the smallest stars, and there are huge ones. But the point isn't what Veda is saying and what science is saying. How we should understand it is that we, with our limited capacities, whatever it be, intelligence, eyesight, hearing, it is very much limited, and it is also defected. We can go into illusion, we can go into error prone, and so many other things, which is to Sankarshan Prabhu's point that science has the flexibility of changing. So these suns, when we are talking about sun, trying to understand from a Vedic perspective and trying to understand from material science perspective, in one sense, they are two diametrically opposite uh, methodologies of seeing things. Science is nothing but trying to understand things the way they are. That is science. Now, what we are doing is we are going through a trial and error mechanism. And we do a trial and error through our material science because we are depending on our material senses. Whereas the spiritual science is coming directly in a descending form of perfect, coming from the source itself, Shri Krishna, which flows through the Guru Parampara, etc., Shastras, and so on and so forth. So when we have to take a decision, now at times there are overlaps, and whenever there is an overlap, it is more in terms of quote unquote a fluke on material sciences. Like recently, they discovered that there is a body of water, some I don't know, some 100, 200, I don't even know what, million light years away, a body of water which is so large, it is 140 trillion times some silly number. Like you can't even imagine that body of water which is there. Now, this has been explained in Bhagavatam, what this body of water is. Similarly, whatever we read in the scriptures and shastras is factual, and whatever we are getting in the material sciences is not necessarily actual, but it is assuming, there is a level of assumption which thinks that it may be like this. That's the operative word. Nobody can say for sure. Like we have calculated the distance to our sun as 93 million miles. Now they are talking about other stars which are like um, exponential the size of our sun. In fact, our sun is called a dwarf star. There are exponentially, like unimaginable. And this is what is exactly said even in our scriptures of the planetary systems. There are sizes which are beyond our capacity of imagination also. So whatever science is finding with its tool, with its intellect, we have to understand and accept that these are based on perceptions, not fact. These are based because even the instruments could be faulty. There's nothing which is foolproof, nothing which is factual. Even mathematics, which is the science of language of perfection, even mathematics relies on something which is called root I, root of an imaginary number. So you're imagining something and taking a root I, which becomes a constant in your equations, without which it would all fail. So all these things we understand is that science is going one way, the ascending way, which is trial and error, and the spiritual science is the descending way, which is factual, exact. And the reason how we accept it, we don't accept it as trial and error. We accept it as coming from a source. The source is perfect. It is being delivered to us as it is, like what Prabhupada and the Acharyas and the Gurus do it. They're not putting any concoction of their own. They give it to us as it is. And when we start applying it, we get the knowledge, we start applying it, we realize it. Yes, this is how it is. At the same time, not to discard science. Science also has value. Science is also another way of realizing things how they are. But it is a trial and error way, and you're never certain. With the scriptures, you are 100% certain. So this is the way that we can, how to say, reconcile what may be apparent differences. So what Semeshwar Prabhu and what Sankarshan Prabhu have said, the one is the nomenclature, the other is the methodology. So that Shabda Praman, Anuman Praman, if we follow that, Shabda Praman is the most perfect way of understanding the nature of things as they are. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thanks for the help.
Yeah, that's a his Vedic understanding is more deeper. I mean, initially we may think that. So Srila Prabhupada gives an example, just two examples Srila Prabhupada gives, like cow dung and a bone, right? Cow dung is considered as it's dirty, it's ashuddha. in anybody, in other world or outside of this Vedic understanding. Cowdung is a stool, and if anybody touches, they have to take bath or clean. But according to the Veda, Cowdung is the best purifier, and in used we in olden India, everybody use Cowdung for many things, even for purification. And if before we start any puja, first we sprinkle the water of Cowdung, and people used it. But in scientific or the science world, it is an impure substance. But according to the Veda, it's a pure substance. Where is the knowledge? And even recently, everybody, scientists even proven that, even tested and proven that it's one of the best purifier. And likes that, the bonds like conch, right? Conch is also kind of bond, but we takes that for the puja and all. So why it is mentioned in Veda? So many things which is beyond our perception, beyond our understanding. So, but as it's mentioned, that is Amrutananda Prabhu very nicely explained about it. It's a Shabda Prabhan. It's a Avarohan from descending from the right source. So we should believe that, we should understand that this is the importance of understanding from the pure devotees, and they explains this very well. So yeah, so it's a Vedic understanding is 100%. So one follows that, and there is no fault that we can see it. Yeah. Okay, wonderful. Anything else? Thank you, Ashish Karuna Prabhu. It's a wonderful question.
Also, Prabhu, I have other questions also.
Go ahead, please.
So, Prabhu, in the morning class or that time, I see that there is some, you told that there is two type of Varaho Dev, right? One is Rakta Varaho and Seta Varaho.
Correct.
Oh, so Rakta Varaho in Mahakalpa, right? That is in Mahakalpa time.
No, in Rektavara, he's in a Chakshushamanu.
Okay, but in case of the Seta Varaha, that is that time Earth also submerged in the causal ocean. Causal ocean. What is that? Garuda is ocean.
Bodhaga Ocean, yeah.
Yes. So that time, due to the devastation that is happened, or some demon did that.
Yeah, there's Hiranyaksha did it, right? Hiranyaksha took Mother Earth and hid in the where the regions of Pluto. That's what Bhagavatam says, that it's a very far distant, and it's actually contained as neither. It's a very filthy place. According to the Bhagavatam, the region of Pluto is a very filthy place, and this area, this region. So Hiranyakashipu took Mother Earth from this orbit and hid it into that regions of Pluto.
Okay, Prabhu.
Yeah.
My question, sorry, Prabhu, sorry for interruption. My question is that is happening. They don't have in Mahakalpo. Means that time Hiranyaksha there, he did that. But in case of the Seta Varaho, the earth also did by the Hiranyaksha?
No, that's a slip as per the because of the material pollution, or everybody kind of polluting into this nature, and Mother Earth slipped and submerged into the Garbhodaga Ocean.
Okay,
So that's where the Shveda Varaha appeared from the nostrils of Brahma.
Oh, okay. So, okay, I got it. So this thing written in the Bhagavatam or any other Puranas?
It's in Bhagavatam. It's there. We will see in the later, when in the same candle, red candle, when the appearances of the sons of Mother Didi, that is Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, is a beautifully explained that they are falling down from the spiritual planet to the material planet. They are taking the birth, and they are under Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, their atrocities, and they are taking the Mother Earth. All will be explained in the third canto itself. Yes.
No,
Third
no,
and
no, Prabhu. I
fourth.
got your point. I sorry, Prabhu, interruption. I got your point, but Hiraksa did it in Mahakalpe. That is Seth Baraho that time appeared. Rakta Baraho that time appeared.
Okay, this is
But
what it is. Okay, Prabhuji, this is what is we need to understand it. Kalpa is a one day of Brahma.
yes,
Like that, there are 30 days of Brahma.
yeah,
Okay, and there are Manus. In one day, there are 14 Manus,
yes,
30 days, and then that repeats like 12 months.
yes,
That means 12 into 30, that is, 360 days. And that's 360 Kalpa.
yes,
Within that 360 Kalpa, that means like that there are 100. So 36,000 kalpas are out there. So this is cyclic. This is coming, like every 30 months, every 30 days, the same kalpa starts. And then it goes back again. Like that, there are 360 kalpas. No, 336,000 kalpas out there. So, yes, this is mind blowing. Yes. And in the, after the, there is a Patma Kalpa, and there is a Sweda Varaha Kalpa, and then the story of Tekta Varaha Kalpa happened in another Kalpa, yes, as you say, the Mahakalpa. In that Mahakalpa, there are 14 Manus. Every Kalpa, every day there are 14 Manus. That's repeating. So that the fourth Manu is known as Chakshusha Manu. So that is happened on this Mahakalpa. So this repeating. So we can't exactly say that, in which day, which year, which, it's just difficult to go back like that. But as the understanding from the scriptures is, this is in one of the kalpas in the Chakshusha Manu, and another the Shvedavaraha kalpa. That is, that's why it is known as Shvedavaraha kalpa, and likes that.
okay, okay, Prabhu. Okay,
Is got it?
Prabhu.
It's clear?
I got yes, got it, Prabhu. But I am not clear about the Seth Baraha Kalpo. That time Earth submerged in the
Yes.
Garuda Vishnu. That time I think that Hiranaksa did it, or other demon did it, or just due to the devastation it was
Yes,
happened.
it was due to, as it was slipped from the orbit because of there is an exploitation of the nature. There are different areas. So Brahma was focused on every day of Brahma. There is a creation, and every night of the Brahma, there is everything is goes back to the body of Mahavishnu. And then the day of Brahma starts, there is a creation, and Brahma is focused on all those things. Here, the creation happens. Mother Earth was there, and then then it is slipped from the orbit, and then actually what we see is actually when Sukadev Goswami speaks, Sukadev Goswami mix up, in the sense that it's not in a chronological order. Bhagavatam is not at all in a chronological order. That means one incident happens and anything in the Bhagavatam mentions immediately after the next one, or immediately after. It's not in a sequential order at all. Sometimes Sukadeva Goswami speak what is happened in Padmakalpa immediately after that. Maybe happened in Shweta Varaha Kalpa is like that. It's not in a chronological order at all. So that's why this confusion coming up. So then we should hear from the Srila Prabhupada. That's why we hear from the Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada mentioned all this in the purport, right? There is a Svedavaraha Kalpa, there is Yaktavaraha Kalpa. Srila Prabhupada says that in another Kalpa of in the Chakshushamanu, the Yaktavaraha appeared and killed Hiranyaksha, and retained the earth and killed Hiranyaksha. That's why he came up with all the weapons, fighting for 28 days, and we'll see that in the later chapter of Bhagavatam. And the Shedavaraha Kalpa is earth went down, and that's the time when Swayambhuva Manu asked, and Shatarupa, they were asked to start the progeny and protect the inhabitants and all the people. So then Swayambhuva Manu asked, requested Brahma that where is my place, where should I stay. That's the time even Brahma remembers, and Swayambhuva Manu reminding Brahma that, and Swayambhuva Manu said that Mother Earth is actually submerged in the water. So that's the time meditated upon. Then Brahma thought that it's not beyond my capacity, that I can't do because of its Mother Earth. And then meditated upon the Supreme, and that pray and the meditation, the Lord Brahma appeared through the nostril of the Brahma. That's what his morning classes is going on now, right? So yes, then Brahma, then so the Varaha appeared. Then it's also, we could see that Varaha killed a demon, and in this same chapter we see that, and then also that blood of that demon, and that is not specifically mentioned which demon, but it is Hiranya Aksha, and underneath the water, he hid in underneath the water, and then the Varaha's face is completely colored with the blood, and then it's also called Raktavara. But this is happened in another kalpa and another Manu, but it's actually came everything together. So when Sukadeva Goswami speaks, it's actually speaking the both, say the Varaha Kalpa, speaking saying the Rekta Varaha Kalpa. But then if we go further down into the Srimad Bhagavatam, we could see that this is all very clearly explained when the Rekta Varaha appeared and killed Hiranyaksha. Yes. So if you read further down the chapters, you'll see, Prabhuji.
Okay, Prabhu. Very well, Prabhu. Dhanyavad Pranam. Thank you, Prabhu. Dhanyavad Pranam to everyone.
Jai. So anything else? Anybody else has anything to add? Any questions? Any other discussions? Yes. Sankarshan Prabhuji was speaking first time in this channel, so everybody can give your wonderful feedback, so that is encouraged, and Prabhuji will be keep continue, keep coming to speak in this channel. Everybody can give your feedback, appreciation, whatever. Any comments?
I wrote it in the chat, Prabhu. Sankarshan Prabhu, thank you so much. And that point which you made about Krishna's opulence, why he's describing it, so that we can, surrender with intelligence, not just sentimentally do and fall. So what a powerful point that was. Thanks, Prabhu. And the QAs also. Thank you, everybody. As Simeshwar Prabhu always says, this is the whole purpose of doing our program, morning and evening. How much we learn. Thanks, Prabhu. Thank you all. Thanks.
Very nice. Nothing else? Yeah, Savita Mataji.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. It was a great lecture. I also like the way you gave references from each Bhagavad Gita, so we could learn, and, you could immediately take a reference to context. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Anybody else? Good to hear from her. Yeah. Go ahead, Ajay Prabhu. Jay Prabhu, are you there? Okay. Anybody else? Sudhagar Prabhu. You're always there. Very nice.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Jai. How are you?
Yeah, okay, Prabhuji. Yeah. Good. Prabhuji, just one comment. I always think of, in this science, we have this duality of the matter, right? Whether it can be particle or it can be wave, depending on situation, right? I was just trying to, just understand more from the spiritual standpoint. So we have how we relate these two in the spiritual way, where you have same thing, can be particle or it can be wave, right?
Sankarshan Prabhu, you want to answer the question? You got the answer question, right? You're on mute. You're on mute, Sankarshan Babu.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, according to science, yes, a particle, yes, could like the energy could be in two forms. Like when we say light could also be a particle, and light could also be a wave. So yeah, but again, like Lord Krishna is not uh, delving into those, because he did not have the time to go in detail for every little thing. So he said, but these are my inferior energies. So that's what he discusses. And um, I don't know if Mr. Prabhu, you want to add something? Like maybe you have more.
Yes, Prabhuji's question is how do you relate this?
Yeah,
Sometimes it's particles, sometimes it's waves, sometimes different. Yes, Prabhuji, our Bhagavad explains very beautifully that Parasya Shaktir Vivideva Sruyate. That means all my energy manifests in various ways. Particle is also his energy. Waves also his energy. It's a different manifestation. Heat energy, it's an energy. Electrical energy, magnetic energy, gravitational energy, binding energy, whatever electromagnetic energy, wave is in the form of waves and the particles. Everything is, Rampad Maharaj says this, there is only two things. One is Krishna and everything else is Krishna's. See, we can see this is the way we see Krishna in everything. So I was giving this example other day that I just go every day morning for my Gayatri, and nice breeze comes to our body. I mean, what is this breeze? It's there, of course, but that breeze, how it is manifesting. Oxygen is there, different gas is there, but these are all coming in shaping in various ways. The Krishna's energy. That's why Krishna says everything. Aham sarvasya prabhu madaga sarvam bhavati. Is all his energy. Day light is his energy. Day light is his energy. Night darkness is also his energy, isn't it? Fruit is energy. Tree is his energy. Plants is his energy. Branch is his energy. Otherwise, how it is binding together, and it's a life in it. That life is his energy. Water is his energy, vapor is his energy, even ice is his energy. Everything is a manifestation from the same energy, right? Butter is his energy, milk is his energy, yogurt is his energy. Everything comes from the same, the milk, and it's a transformation. So this is what it is in this world. It's a transformation, that same energy. That's why originally is Krishna. So even though that entire material world is, we know that, right? We ask this question sometimes, which one is come first, chicken or egg, right? In material world, we ask. But actually, it's all come from the same energy. It's a transformation of energy in due course of time. The same soul, right, is coming into a animal body, the birds, the aquatics, everything, but the same soul. And it's a manifestation, like in the scripture, in the Bhagavad explains that initially there is a sound. From the sound, ether manifested. From the ether, air manifested. From the air, fire manifested. From the fire, water manifested. From the water, taste manifested. From the water, earth manifested. And then all the other aspect, taste come from the water, and the touch senses come from the air, and the smell comes from the earth, the senses of the senses come from the earth. So this is the way this is expanding, and this is what it is. Even the demigods, where it's come from, it's also Krishna's Lord's energy. Is it, maybe we call it as an inferior energy in the material world, Parashakti, but Parash is all come from that Parashakti, that superior energy, or that ultimately we call it as a spiritual energy. From the spiritual energy, material energy comes. Material energy then transforms to various other energies. And especially, like, yes, sometimes it can be waves, some can be, it's exactly like, the same energy. But in scientific term, we say it as wave energy or wavelength, we call it as, that's just, just for measurement and other things. But in real sense, we take it as a soul, that supreme energy. That's why Samam Bonam, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigrahanada, Sarva Karana Karanam, from his energy. So that's why there are various manifestation, incarnations, manifestations, his plenary expansions and expansions of expansions. Why Bhagavatam says all this? Very scientific, isn't it? So what happens when this annihilation happens, all this energy goes back into the same original form. Nothing is losing. And science explains that matter can neither be created nor destroyed. Why science says that? Matter can neither be created nor destroyed. Where it's come from? It's a transformation. Yes, I mean, when we say fire is a transformation of energy or releasing the energy. But fire is an entity. So that entity, we call it as demigods. Yes, Bhagavad explains in the Deva Devadas, but the reality, these are all various manifestations of the same entities. The manifestations like water, the body of water is an entity taking place. Anything like this in this world, just we can see it that as an aspect of the various manifestation of that same energy, spiritual energy manifesting. That's we are spiritual energy. There's a difference actually. Spiritual energy is full of life. Material energy is inferior that way, but it can transform. But it doesn't have that kind of like a living entity has senses, mind, intelligence, ego, all this there because it's a symptom of life. So that's why it's different. There's a different energy. But an energy in a tree or energy in a stone is different, right? But an energy in a human body or a living entity's body in a living entity is different because of that living entity can walk, talk, see things, everything can be. So this is called spiritual energy, that spirit. So we are life. Srila Prabhupada says that this soul is active for all their life, and at the time of death is going to stop everything. No, it's continue the same but in a different way. So soul is eternal. That's why soul is called eternal. Spiritual energy is eternal. So it's because we are the example. We are talking, we are moving, we are doing everything, but a stone doesn't do that. But that's also Krishna's energy. That's the difference between material energy and spiritual energy. So similar way that the energy of the Supreme Lord manifests in various ways. Bhagavatam explains very nicely, Parasya Shaktir, that supreme energy potency is Vivideva Sruyade, manifested in various ways. So we call it as Paramatma, we call it as Brahman. Ultimately, of course, that and higher realizations and understanding that we call him as a Bhagavan, the Supreme Person. We are a person, that spirit soul is coming as a personal form and doing so many things. And then that Supreme Lord doesn't have a personal form. It's all there, but in completely spiritual. Yeah, so,
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. So basically, there is only energy of the Krishna. It just manifests in different ways.
Nice.
Different. Of course, again, it's a temporary manifestation. Matter is nothing but temporary manifestation of the Krishna energy in different forms.
Yes.
But otherwise, just the original, everlasting is just the energy, Krishna's energy. It is a spiritual.
Yes. And that's why this energy when manifest, and Krishna then give a form, a stage, or what is called a position. Like Indra is a position. Sun, it's energy, his energy. That's why Surya Narayana, we call him. Surya Narayana, he's Narayana. But Surya, his name is Vivasva, and he has a temporary, and he has some purpose to do, and same energy. And that's why we are all like Adi Devik, Adhyatmik, Adi Bhautik. These three things are there. So these are all Adi Devik. That means it's all Devik. That's the same potency, but it's a different entity manifest like that. And we are dependent upon. Even if we have the eyes, but if the sun is not there, we cannot see through our eyes. So we are dependent on, that's a connection between Adhyatmik, Adi Devik. So we have soul, but these various manifestations are there so that we can perform our activities. So we are dependent. And ultimately, we are all dependent upon that energy. So interdependency is there with the, So Krishna created all these energies and identified them as a various entities, like 330 million, various energies or manifestation of energies, sun, moon, Varuna, Vayu, Agni, Indra, Soma, Surya, that the potencies of the Mother Earth, right? So it's binding together, and Mother Earth nurturing everybody. Where this all come from? Growing, a plant is growing. We can't do anything with the grass, but the grass is growing nicely. So where is it's all happening? Because of our eyes are what is called covered with all this. We don't see it, but in the behind the scene, everything is happening. That's is alive. His energy is alive. So so that all we need to understand is we can see Krishna is in everything. Every moment, every atom, we can see that is energy.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Yeah. So this entire process is to realize this our spiritual identity. Yes, we are completely. So this process will give us an opportunity to identify spiritually, realizing and understand our identity, that we are eternal, of course. We can understand we are eternal. We do things. We have full of knowledge and potency. Yes, we can remember. We can do things, and it's also blissful, right? We are all looking for that, and this is the exact nature of that supreme, and that's why we also have the same. And understanding and realizing this importance of this, that we are also part of that supreme energy. So we are spirit soul. We come to understand it. We are spirit soul. We are not this material bodies. Our nature is eternal. Our identity is, we are belongs to the superior nature. We are not belongs to this material nature. So, we all can understand that. And then we can understand that everything comes from the Krishna. That's exactly Bhagavad Gita explains. Mataha paradaram jnanyat kinti jastadananchaya. Mai sarvamidam prodam sutre maniganeva. There is no truth beyond me, isn't it? There is no truth beyond me. Yes, that's exact truth. He is there. He is the truth. Yes, somebody see him Brahman, somebody see him Paramatma, but ultimately devotees realizes, understand this. Yes, he has a personal form. He is a person. That's Bhagavan. So then he developed that, relationships. He developed that, devotion and love for that supreme. Okay, he is my everything. Everything comes from him. I am also part of him. I came from him. So my original responsibility, duty, dharma is to, dharmastu sakshal, bhagavat pranida. Dharmastu sakshal, bhagavat, realizing and understanding and devoting to him. Yeah, wonderful, very nice. Anything else? Yes, as always says that the human birth, that only in this human birth that we can realize all this, no other birth. So then, we should put ourselves, that's called, yoga, we're conscious of him, and some way or other relate ourselves with him and devote ourselves with him. Remember his, all this, and engage in his loving devotional service, chanting, hearing, engaging in his service. Because of that, and we are coming to that point, his whole purpose is to bring a person to this point of that, to always be in union with him, always in conscious of him. Then eventually what will happen, we'll subdue all our material needs and urges, and then we subdue and we come out from that all material and worldly needs, and we situate in that spiritual platform or spiritual realm. There, we are always in union, always in association, and that's called yoga. That's called spiritual yoga, or Srila Prabhupada put Krishna consciousness. There we are with Krishna. So we become pure, consciousness become pure, our spirit soul, completely now. And it's a different realm, of course. In the spiritual realm is everything is very wonderful there. But now we are on the material platform, and there is dualities, pain, pleasure, happiness, distress, cold, hot, winter, summer, so many, it's all mixed together. And we are completely bound by this. But by this process of understanding, we are all spirit, soul, eternally and eternal, and we are eternal entities, spiritual sparks, that same as the Supreme Lord is. Everything is manifesting from Him, that we are also part of Him. Our dharma, param dharma, is to realize this and in union with Him, engaging in His service. So we have lots of opportunities, the service, chanting the holy name, hearing and association with the devotees, and cooking for Him. What is ultimately happening? Ultimately happening is, our consciousness more with Him, that not in the material consciousness, but the spiritual consciousness. Krishna, the Supreme Lord. He is non-different. He is not material. He is completely spiritual. So anything what we do, conscious of Him, is completely spiritual. Is beyond these modes of material nature. That means beyond this material energy. So we are slowly, going up or going into that spiritual spiritual. So this is the journey, and this is ultimate. This is the essence of the scriptures. All the scriptures that bring us to that spiritual consciousness and Krishna consciousness, and eventually we will completely free from all this our material and everything, and then we'll come out. Then we become completely spiritual. So this is a process. Yeah. Anything else? Mataji's Malagobi Mataji, you're there, you didn't speak anything.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. It was nice hearing everybody. Very nice realizations. Learned a lot. I'll try to join more and more. It's very informative.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, dear devotees, for joining. If there is nothing else, anybody else would like to add? Yeah, Prashbu, didn't hear anything from you.
Hare Krishna, dear devotee. Thank you very much. It's a nice discussion. And I always like when the speaker leaves some time for the question answer, because that's where we get more information.
Yeah.
So Sankarshan Prabhu, thank you for giving us a sweet and short class. So that way we had more time for the discussion. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Very good.
Yes, Prabhu, one thing as Prabhuji just discussed about that, in morning class also, we need some time for question answer. The 5 minutes is okay, but if it is takes the 25 minutes, maybe the lecture after that 5 minutes is the question answer. That will be the good structure. This is my request.
Yeah.
Nobody asks questions.
Yeah.
How many people ask questions? There are just a few people who ask questions. So the thing is that all of us should have, because don't feel shy, ask a question. Typically, there are 3, 4, or 5 people who ask questions. So yes, necessary to ask questions, but morning time, what Madhupati Prabhu explained is people go to work, and usually a class takes some time,
Yeah.
depending on the topic. So that's why we have the Nityam Bhagavad Sevaya, not only for Bhagavatam class, but even for evening Bhagavad Gita class. Any question that is there, you could post it there. And then a lot of devotees can share their realizations. So questions are, I agree with Jai Prakash Prabhu, that's the essence where we can actually understand. But the class is for the philosophy, the point which is being made. And question answers clears that point.
Yes, wonderful, very nice. That yeah, it's just time is very less in terms of 30 minutes, and then initially like 5 to 7 minutes goes for the words and the purpose, and then start to speak. Hardly get like 15-20 minutes, and then in order to cover the point, yes, it's a bit hard, but agree with you. Sheshakarna Prabhu, at least give 5 minutes, to ask questions. Yes, yeah, always good to, and you always ask question. I appreciate that. It's quite
Yes.
nice.
Question Acharya. Ashlesh Prabhu. Jai.
Sheshakarna Prabhu. Very good.
No, Prabhu, actually, what sometimes the questions came in the mind. Later, when I write down the Bhagavad Seva, I forgot sometimes. So I need to remember these things. But thank you, everyone. Yes, we have the Bhagavad Seva, Nitya Bhagavad Seva. We can post the questions. You are right, Prabhu. I missed that point. Thank you, Prabhu. You pointed out this thing.
Oh, Krishna Prabhu. Okay, Prabhu.
Okay.
I'll have to leave off at 8:30, Prabhu. So
yeah, so we are going to
my
conclude.
obeisance now.
Yeah, okay. So there is nothing else. Then let's conclude. Vancha kalpadarubhasya
Kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
ki jai.
Jai.
Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
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 Nanda Guru Vaishnava ki jai.
Jai.
Hari
Hari
Hari.
Hari Bol.
Hari Hari.
Thank you, Sankarshan.
Thank you, Sankarshan.
Thank you, everybody. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Thank you,
Hare
everybody.
Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.